this is going to be great.
Welcome to the White House Pod. With David A.R. White.
Guys, you guys are, wow, that's loud. Tony, what is up with the music here? It's so loud.
We got to get bumped up.
Exactly. We got to get... Now, you guys, here's something that's interesting, is Tony is the guy who's running this whole thing, right? This whole studio. So if there's a problem, just blame Tony. However, our guest is also named Tony. And so just make sure that you don't blame our guest because, you know, that would, and I don't know either of their last names or can pronounce them. So I'm not even going to try. I'm just kidding. All right. This is actually kind of good because, Tony, you're my pal. And we, you know, for I don't know how many years, our boys have played basketball for quite a while together. That's where is that where I first met you?
I think so.
Our daughters go to the same school.
That's right.
Our sons go to a different school. And on top of it, you know, as a parent, when you're playing basketball, you certainly, hopefully, at some level, like to hang out with other parents. And it's difficult because sometimes you just don't. You know, there's a lot of the worst ones were like back in the day. By the way, we're not going to talk about our kids playing basketball this entire podcast, guys. Just wait. You're going to love this because this is really interesting. But I think it's interesting that you know, when our kids are growing up, they have like these 9 to 12 week sessions, maybe 8-week sessions.
Right.
And then you don't know any of those parents when you get into it when they're younger.
That's right.
And you go through it, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, what?
Right.
It's the final party 9 weeks or 12 weeks later. And then you're like, man, I like Tony.
That's right.
And I'm never going to see him again now. And yet, you know, when they're in high school, obviously it's longer seasons and a whole lot that go, you know, or club, and then you're getting to know them a lot better. So fortunately, you were not part of the 8-week session that I never saw you again.
Right.
You were part of the whole school stuff.
Right.
So,
well, the upside of that is that there's a lot of those parents you don't like. So when that 8 weeks is over, it's great. You never see them again, right? So I'm just saying.
All right. So where are you from originally?
So I grew up in Oklahoma.
Yep.
And
by the way, Tony's a big time attorney here. We're excited because we've never had an attorney on this. I'm a little Dylan's actually super scared that he's going to get sued, and that's what you do is lawsuits. And we've had a lot of fires going on in California. In case you were not aware of that, and Tony specializes in repping people whose houses have burned down.
Right.
This is not a 1-800-CALL-TONY episode. However, you can go to the YouTube at David A.R. White and see Tony's face. And if you like him, you might want to call him. I'm just kidding. This is not a promotion at all. All right. So so you grew up in Oklahoma. I was born in Oklahoma. Tulsa for me. Where are you?
Oh, you're from Tulsa?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Stillwater. I grew up in Stillwater. My dad was a professor at Oklahoma State.
That would explain why you're so smart. Okay. That's right. So professor, and then when did you you have a family, you have kids, all that stuff, but when did you want to become a lawyer?
Well, that was kind of funny because I always thought I was going to be a doctor. That was kind of going in that direction. And then I got to school at Pepperdine, and a lot of my buddies were doing law, and I realized I was pretty good at speaking and getting in front of people, and I decided, I sat in one of my science classes at Pepperdine. And about 3 days in, I realized I have no idea what this person's talking about. That's probably not a good sign.
In science?
Yeah, it was like chemistry class or something. And
Pepperdine's like a high class place.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. So
it's hard to get in there because you just overlook the ocean. And then one of my favorite things to do is you go over Canaan. Actually, Las Virgenes probably is better.
Right.
But you see all the flags.
Oh, yeah.
Are the flags always up at the Pepperdine?
No, that's just around 9/11. Yeah.
That's the only time the flags go up?
Well,
I feel like I see them all year long.
Are you talking about all the American flags that are put up?
Well, I'm not talking about the Iranian flags.
Right. Well, there's that special time. And then after 9/11, you had some very good some kids at Pepperdine said, we want to honor all the fallen people. So
that's when it started.
Yeah. And so what they did was there's a flag to represent each flag there. Represents each person that died that day. So you're going to have different countries and different
Oh.
That's why you see so many American flags. There are so many Americans, but you'll also see whatever, a German flag or this flag, and that's to represent that person that died that day. So then they have a commemoration there, I think every year, and it's gotten bigger and bigger, and it's really nice. It's a great way to sort of commemorate right there by the ocean and, all the people.
Wow.
And never forget them. And
Yeah.
we get a lot of nice people that come out and help. Gary Sinise has been out there,
Yeah.
just Chris Pratt, I think, came out this year. So a lot of different people come out and help.
That's cool.
Speak. It's really nice. Yeah.
All right. So how do we get into law? Like, so you hate science class.
Yeah.
And then where does it go from there?
Yeah. So from there, I realized, okay, maybe the law is a better way to go. So I ended up changing my major, going all in instead of science, going with history, and then ended up going to law school. And so really enjoyed that. Had some.
Where was law school?
Law school was Pepperdine.
Oh, it was Pepperdine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hard to leave that place. Once you're there, right? That's such a nice spot.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
there.
So I got into that, and then I had some relatives that were prosecutors, and they said, "Hey, come watch a trial, come see what this is like." And I thought, man, this looks fun.
Had you already grown up watching A Few Good Men and those other unbelievable?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, A Few Good Men.
What's your favorite lawyer movie?
Let me think that out. You know what? There's a couple. I love Few Good Men because you just got to love the.
You can't handle the truth,
right?
yeah.
You can't handle the truth. I really like. There's another one with Gene Hackman called Class Action, which is really, really, really good.
Is that the one with John Cusack running? That's another one.
Oh no, that's another one of the John
Corruption
Grisham ones.
Yeah, but I feel like what's his name's a bad guy in that.
He might have been. I don't remember.
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman was a bad guy in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. His daughter's.
He's also kind of a bad guy in the Tom Cruise one too.
Yeah, he is. And the run.
Well, he's just a little dirty.
Yeah, he is. Wasn't he always? I mean, so.
I love Gene Hackman.
But Class Action's cool. A Few Good Men. I mean, there's some others. There's another one John Travolta did called A Civil Action.
Yeah.
And the reason why that was really great, because once I actually got out into the world of practicing law, you realize the reality of what that guy went through in that movie, what Civil Action's about. You put it all on the line. You're trying to win. These people have been taken advantage of. They've really been hurt. But yet everything you're doing is not working out to, win. And eventually they do, but he doesn't. I think he ends up... He puts everything into it. He leverages himself. I think he goes into bankruptcy. The real life guy. But eventually the EPA got involved. And anyway, so that's why I like that movie. It's very real.
Yeah, there's a whole lot. I mean, whatever. The Robert Downey Jr. one is really good too.
Which one's that?
That was the one when his dad's the judge.
Oh yeah, that's good too.
And he's the hotshot attorney who has to go through there. In fact, I feel like I talked to you that night after I watched that movie.
You might have.
And I thought Justice said you liked that movie or something, or maybe Justice was over at our house that night. That's his son, by the way.
It could have been, yeah.
All right, so what's going on with these fires? We've had obviously a whole lot of fires.
Yeah,
and you were over in Hawaii representing the people who had fires there, right?
Well, a little bit different. I'm certainly aware of I've got a lot of friends and colleagues that are actually representing people on the ground. I went over there to take a look at it and see, and met a lot of people. But as far as like representing clients in Maui right now, I'm not, but I have a lot of friends and family that do. But what really drew me into the fire area was something that affected you as well. So it was my
power going out?
It was probably, but it was the Woolsey fire. Do you remember that one? Okay, 2018,
yeah.
right? So what really got me is I had certainly
crazy.
Prior to that, I was doing a lot of what we call consumer class actions. So I was doing a lot of like defective products, people not being paid properly, and doing those on a big, large-scale basis against various corporate employers, things like that. But what happened is that 2018, I experienced the fire coming and having to load up, because the kids were young at the time, load up all the kids in the car in the middle of the night and scream out of there, and then trying to go to Malibu because my family lived there, not knowing that fire would, get worse. Right.
Wow.
But you thinking, like a lot of people, like a lot of my clients thought, hey, go to the ocean, it'll be safe there, right? So you try to get there, but you couldn't get through because of the fire, and I had to literally turn around because these roads were blocked and screaming, and the kids screaming in the car. And anyway, experiencing that, and then getting to Malibu and having to move again, and the fire coming. So I saw the power and effects of that. And then what happened is so many people that I had gone to school with, things like that, I'd played baseball with, their kids, things like that, they lost their homes. And so they started calling me, hey, Tony, could you help us out? We don't want to work with, these outsiders, right? I want to work with somebody who's a Malibu guy who's from this area. And I said, sure.
Meaning another attorney.
Yeah, another attorney. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what happens is in these sort
Well, there's a lot of creepy attorneys. Are you more the Better Call Saul attorney, or are you more like the John Travolta attorney?
if you're talking about like a good, straightforward, down-to-earth attorney who knows the law and really works with the people.
Or Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
attorney.
Yeah, I want to be
feel
that.
like in every movie,
Right.
the attorneys all are really, really. There's all kinds of problems.
There's
for every
always.
of them, which makes a good movie. But
Right. Well,
so,
it's stressful
so which
job.
one are you?
Yeah, I'm not the guy who's going to walk in with the purple suit.
Yeah.
And
We're not getting a purple suit.
the purple suit.
I was
the
hoping you were
flashy
going to wear
cars.
like a white one tonight.
Yeah,
today.
I mean, like you can see, I wear boots. I'm an Oklahoman, so I walk into people.
He's
I
got
talk
these
to them.
alligator skin boots, guys. You're going to want to come to YouTube right now at David A.R. White and check out his alligator skin boots.
And my hat I usually wear, but yeah, no,
I feel like you got to put your boot up here.
You want me to put the boot up? I can do that. Here we go. How about that? Here we go. We're in for real. So, no, I think that one of the things that what I saw was out of that is I could help people. I could shift from the big corporate clients and start towards the big corporations and those and focus on helping people I knew close by. And the reality is that, there's probably too many lawsuits in our country, and there's a lot of lawsuits that a lot of us go, come on, what are you talking about? This is just attorney driven, and there's some truth to that. But with these, what I found with these is that these are people that were really affected. They lost their homes. They lost all their
possessions.
possessions.
Is this thing true? Because obviously we've heard a lot about the insurance problems, right? Did people actually have insurance, or did they stop paying insurance, or especially like in the Palisades on this fire?
Okay.
Because you think it's kind of it's a weird thing because when you think of Pacific Palisades, you think of rich people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All the rich people and the movie stars are in the Palisades. And why in the world would they get rid of insurance? Were they forced to get rid of insurance, or did they just get rid of insurance? And B, are we giving money to the movie stars so they can rebuild their $4 million mansion or $10 million mansion? I think Mel Gibson handled it the best because he's been talking about it. Because hey, you know what? My family's safe. I'm grateful.
Right.
And yes, I lost a lot of stuff,
right.
but it was just stuff.
Right. Well,
and he wasn't asking for people to send him money.
Well, and that
Mel
makes
Gibson
sense.
is worth a lot.
Right. That makes sense. Right. And some people would say, well, you can say that because you have a lot of money.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
And there's truth in that. But yeah, so the Palisades is a really interesting story, as within most of these fire cases. So what happens is you just think of like your own home, right? We buy insurance, most of us. We try. Mm-hmm. And we do the best we can, but we rely on an agent. Hey, get me this, get me that. But what we don't do, none of us probably go to a contractor and say, what would it actually cost me to rebuild this entire home? Hey, by the way, I've got all this sports memorabilia, because I represented a lot of professional athletes after the fire, hey, I've got all this stuff. It's like once in a lifetime. Or entertainment folks who had like incredible guitars or had, this amazing art, or their parents were in the industry and they had
the things that they should be
things, right?
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily log all that. You don't necessarily get it all valued. So you don't even think about, I should have gotten this insured extra, right? Or something like that. So what happens is that when we get in a fire like this, all of a sudden you realize, wait, I only had this much insurance and it's going to cost me this much to rebuild my house. Are you kidding me? Like, nobody expects it.
And you lost everything that's inside of it.
Yes, and you've lost everything, right? Or it's completely destroyed and needs to be, or whatever. Or I had one client with really, really amazing story. Her father was a Russian dissident artist who had to fled the communist Soviet Union, but he had all of this art he had put together and he brought. And so she had preserved this heritage. Well, guess what? The clean art like that, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it right. She didn't have that money, right? She just who has that type of money? Who knew, right? Most of us don't. So that said, what happens is that you often have a gap and you're underinsured. You don't even mean to be. The worst, but the other things can happen too, particularly out here in California now, which is a real problem, is that you might get your insurance canceled, because we're seeing that across the state right now, where insurance companies are pulling out on people, or they raise the premium so high
Yeah.
it becomes super expensive. I mean, you might have. I've heard of clients calling me and telling me, hey, they're going to charge me $20,000-$30,000 in insurance, and even though their home may be worth a lot because of where they live, that doesn't mean they have that type of cash just sitting around.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so you become in a spot. Well, what do I do? So California.
Call Dylan. His number is 1-800-555-DYLAN.
I like that. So what you do then is a lot of times you get this California Fair Plan, which is a nice thing by the state, but a lot of times they cap their limits. So let's say, I don't know what exactly is right now, but like after the Woolsey fire, for example, I had people that had unbelievable homes. They've been living there a long time, did everything they could. The only insurance they could get was California Fair Plan. But California Fair Plan might cap it, just hypothetically, $1 million. But if you've got a nice place in Malibu, it's going to probably it might cost you $2 million to rebuild. Right?
So who do you go up against here? Who are you fighting against? Like the state of California, the government, or the insurance companies? Like, how do you? I mean, that's like you're picking a battle. Like with who?
Right. Yeah. So there's a couple different scenarios talk about, and the good example is you got the Palisades, and then you've got like right now, let's say the Woolsey fire or the Eaton fire out in Pasadena, where
the Woolsey fire is like, remember 2018.
2018. So the Eaton fire,
and they're still trying to rebuild those, right?
Oh yeah. I have some clients that aren't even done rebuilding yet. So
who are you fighting in that?
So that turned out to be, there was evidence through Cal Fire and everybody else that the power company was on the hook for that one. Okay, and what it was is that they traced that back to their power lines and all of that, and eventually there was a settlement process put in place. So that was an interesting thing, but that allowed those cases to go through. But what's going on here right now is, so anytime there's a fire, the question is, how did it happen? Who started it? What happened, right? Sometimes it's just as simple as a tractor trailer is driving along the road, it sparks something, starts a big fire, right? If that happens, there's nobody really at fault.
What about an arsonist?
Okay, an arsonist.
Because now we got arsonists running around lighting fires in our city.
Right. Well, and that's a terrible, terrible thing too. And in all likelihood, so once you have somebody who's an arsonist, that's a criminal, right? That's a criminal act. So if they do a criminal act, that's really not going to be on anybody else. It's going to be on that person. But that person probably isn't, it's not going to be Jeff Bezos. There's not going to be anybody, Bezos, whatever. You're not going to have anybody that has any money.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing you can do. So if it turns out that it's potentially the power company that's at fault, now you have somebody else to go to try and cover that gap. So that's the point of any of these lawsuits, is to really help with that gap in coverage. I
mean, it makes sense of why, like, you want to find somebody who's trustworthy and who's not wearing a purple suit, who's also has your back. You feel like you care for the people. How is that, though? Does that take a toll on your family, though? I mean, the fact that you represent these people, it's kind of like my dad was a minister, right?
Right,
and so
right.
How many times was he at the hospital helping the sick or the people who were dying and trying to, comfort the family members, not to mention all the people in the church who had problems, pick a subject. But I mean, here you are representing families who have lost everything, who are devastated. I can only imagine how tragic that is. And then you have to go home to your family after work. And do you tell them what's going on? Do you not? Do you try to keep that wall up, kind of like a cop does when he doesn't come home and say, hey, I saw a dead body on the side of the road today. What do you do?
Right. That's a really good question. So
we have one or two of them every podcast.
Well, so there's a couple.
Thank you.
There's a couple different things. It would be, first off, law firms are kind of run in different ways, right?
Yeah.
Some firms are really huge.
Well, so sorry. On a side note, as an actor, when I play an attorney, right? You're kind of taught attorney. They're wonderful because they're emotionless. I mean, that's just the thing, right? If you're an actor and you're going to say, I'm going to play an attorney or a cop, basically your whole thing is be emotionless and just go straight forward, right? Or determination is your objective, not anxiety, frustration, anger. It's determination, right? Which is interesting that here. So, but you actually feel like you have some feelings in there.
Well, I do. And one of the reasons for it, and I think that's a part of what makes me different than a lot of other attorneys, because as I was saying, the different firms handle things differently. Some firms are very detached. The attorneys are kind of here. You've got paralegal secretaries, and there is a lot of that emotionless. That's fine. It works for a lot of people.
We're going to get our
firms.
50% or
Right.
60. We're going to price gouge the person.
Well, whatever it is, but at the end of the day, they're more of a hands-off sort of a thing, right? With me though, it's much more of a hands-on. I'm
You
right
got
there.
4 minutes, by the way. They're like
Okay.
giving us. I've been fighting for
gosh.
5, but they're going to take a 4.
So I'm going to go fast. But anyway, so to answer your question, with somebody like me, who I look at my clients as people I walk along beside, I'm going to help them. I'm going to get deep into what's going on with them. I need to feel where they are. And if I can sit there and help you, they need to feel empathy. When you
Yeah.
have an attorney that feels empathy, that really cares about what you're going through, then it makes it easier for me to turn around and put in the hours that it needs to put in the best thing possible. And so it's hard because I take the emotion of it, and then you got to go home. And so your family sometimes is going to have to deal with it. Now, as far as going into the particulars, you can't because it's confidentiality, right? I can't tell my kids.
Yeah, there's that thing.
I can't break that confidence of my clients. But we carry the burden of it. And if you're sitting with, like I have, you're sitting with a mom or dad who lost their only kid, and you're trying to help them through it, that's hard. Because you got to stand up there and go help that person. But at the same time, I think you got to feel the depths of their loss if I want to adequately communicate that and get a better deal
Does
for
that
that
help
person.
you also go into the cases more, like dive into them more, the more you care?
It does me. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it motivates you.
Yeah, because I want to do for that person what I would want to do for myself, or I'd want to do for my wife. I want it to be
Does
the
your
best
wife
it could
sometimes go, Shay, right?
be. Yeah.
She's great, by the way. His wife's awesome.
Shay, you were close.
Well, can I call her Shay?
That's fine. That's your nickname.
Okay. But does she ever go, you're working too hard?
Oh, yeah.
I would imagine
Yeah,
that. I mean, that's kind of a wife-husband thing anyway.
For sure.
Like, husbands are always working too hard.
sure,
But
for sure.
not always. But
And it's hard to dial out of it.
yeah.
Like, I don't know if, like, when you're an actor, that I'm in character, I can't bring it. I don't know. It's
Totally.
hard.
I'm in character
It's hard.
right now. It's very hard for me to break out of this. Don't even try, Dylan.
That's right. That's right. And that's how it is. You carry it home. It's hard.
Yeah.
Like a minister, I think, be like that. If you think of it that way. And I think of what I
Well,
do.
cops, all
Right.
kinds of. It feels like there's a ton of different jobs.
Right.
Anytime they have to deal with doctors, even
Right.
nurses.
Right.
All right. So as we're wrapping this up.
Yes, sir.
First of all, what is your website?
My website
What's
is Baird at bairdlawfirm.org.
If you can't spell Baird, then just go to the YouTube at David A.R. White, and you'll see it right there. And the link will be there. You can click on that. And if you've been affected by the fires, very sorry for you. And again, hopefully get good representation on this whole thing because it's a mess.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So what do you do like every day? Like what are you working on right now?
Well, right now,
Like 25 different cases?
Oh, sure.
Like how many
sure.
do you have at one time?
Well,
You look good, well rested.
well, we
But I
try
would
to
imagine you're some tired.
we try to keep it focused on never too many, so that I can keep that hands-on approach. Right.
Is your firm like 7,000 people, or do you go more smaller?
So I go
and more intimate?
Yeah, I go smaller and more intimate. But then what I do is that I co-counsel with a lot of other firms that is a part of my team, and then we build that and we do what's necessary with that. But like last night, you asked me. Okay, I was meeting with I don't know, several victims of the Eaton fire, talking through what's going on. I'm going to a church on Sunday after service. They asked me to come to meet with their family members that have lost their home. So I'm doing that. I'm doing a lot of that. But at the same time, we've got other cases. We've got one of the biggest cases up in the Dixie fire that we're putting that together. We're going to mediation. And so, yeah, it's just lots of hands-on, talking to clients. What do they need? How do I best help you? So,
Tony, thank you so much for being here. We got to have more time with you. This is too fast. All right,
anytime, man.
So when I'm not seeing you at a basketball game or come on out to the Super Bowl party,
Yes.
we hope you join us. And Tony's amazing to hang out with. What are your words of advice to people out there besides calling you and the whole idea of a lawyer.
Right.
But what will you say? What do you say to them?
Okay, well, I would say first, take a breath. Don't feel rushed. Don't be worried by all these ads and attorneys and everything you're getting. Look at your insurance. Get in a safe spot. Look at your family. Be thankful that you're all right. And then try to go from there, step by step, one step in front of the other, and try not to let, particularly if you've lost everything, the depression of it just get you down. You got to get out of bed and you got to keep going forward.
There's how many people lost their home in the Palisades? 7,500, something like that. 10.
Well, there's at least 5,300 structures are gone, and it's like a bomb went off up there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
And then there's other places around LA that have been burning too.
Yes.
So are there that many attorneys, or is it like are people calling them all the time, or how does this like what's the bombardment of this whole thing?
Well, the bombardment is that there's a lot of attorneys across the country who now see these as
opportunities. Yeah.
Opportunities, and hey, there's a lot of good attorneys out there who do good work. But I would just say to people, look, if you're considering that, and you're looking at it, make sure you look at who you're talking to, who you're looking at. Make sure there's somebody who's done these before and understands them, not somebody who's just kind of coming in now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really good ones out there, but there's also ones you want to be careful about.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tony, thank you so much for joining us. I'm happy to know you as a friend. Tony and I haven't even talked about his attorney stuff that often because primarily we're just talking about, I have to just talk about me and the podcast. And then Tony's like, finally, could I just get on the podcast? So then I could maybe, talk about me for a minute. I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. But you have such a sweet family, and I'm thrilled that our kids love your kids, and your wife is awesome. And so we just appreciate you guys.
Let me just say, too, I appreciate the work, the entertainment you put out there. Our country needs it. We need good guys like you who are putting out good content, and, we all benefit from it. So it's really good. And you know what? Kids are a reflection of their parents, and you got great kids.
Thank you. All right, guys. Well, tune in to our YouTube page at David A.R. White. Please comment, and please subscribe, and please tell us what do you think Tony should do better as an attorney?
Please.
Just kidding. Tony's so great. All right, you guys are great. He actually summed it up better than anybody. Take a breath. Realize that be in the present. Thank God that you are alive today, and make it the best day that you can. God bless you guys. Thanks again for watching us, and we'll see you next time.